Hello everyone, thank you for coming. I'm Erin and I'm going to be working on, I think it's Jedediah, a mouse that was created 2 weeks ago in a community stream that we did, where we created a mouse together. So this is our guy. I've kind of cleaned him up since the last time you guys saw him, and today I was going to work on the retopology stage with you guys here. First off, got to make some points. For those of you who don't know much about this stage, what I have modeled here is really high, has a lot of triangles in there. It's a really high polygon model, which allows for it to have all this detail. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to create like a point here, a point here, a point here. And this is going to create a single polygon that has 4 points on it. And I create this to basically save all of the like small pieces of data from the current model into this like square, or into a bunch of bigger squares that's on here. And then I end up going ahead and that saves it into it, and it saves a lot of data, makes it so we can have more characters on the screen, because if this model went straight into a game, I don't think the game would be playable, because there'd be so much memory, or just it'd just have to be trying so hard to make this character work there in an animated state at least. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm going to go ahead and create a polygon. For now, I'm going to keep symmetry on, even though it's not a truly symmetrical. It's not a truly symmetrical character. Like, the belt is slightly off, makes this part hard. The trim is different, but since the majority of it is the same, I want to be able to, say, do the vest, which is the same all the way around, and have it create the vest. Alright, well, let's get started on this. And in some spots I don't need to have them be as close together, but one thing I will do is actually create a small thing here so I can get this detail, the ridge of this piece of clothing, but I won't be doing that here. And right here you can see this is a spot where the piece of sculpt is popping through the retopology square, but that's something that I kind of get to deal with, but works out in the end at least. And because I'm looking at this and like, it's really nice to have these like nice and big, but I'm going to need more down here. So I have to decide if I want to add more like this, just have the line go straight down. I'm going to go straight down. And I'm going to be loose down here because I know that it won't match exactly on the belt. Like, you can see the gap here, and there's no gap over here. But that's the problem with doing this exactly mirrored. Instead, I'm going to want to match the vest, because that vest is exactly mirrored. And after I get this whole thing done, even though the front may not match it exactly, then I'll go ahead and estimate like what can be like. I'll go in and do some individual changes on stuff, and after I've applied this symmetry. Yeah, I do enjoy this process. It's fun to figure out the cleanest way of how to make the cleanest way to make this a good model for the end product that's viable for us to be able to use. But I will admit that the sculpting process and the texturing process is more fun for me. But I enjoyed the retopology process, especially because the more I've used this program, the more I've gotten used to how to do certain things and how to work around things that become problems for me. For example, it can be really annoying to work on fingers and on toes. Like those can be really annoying to try in retopology or retopo. But creating the retopology is fun for me. It can be a challenge sometimes, but it's always a nice part of it's a nice part of the work. Hi Red Fox, how are you doing? It's good to have you here. I'm doing well. It has been a good day. It's also sunny out, which I really like the sun, so it's really nice to have it out. Saving time. Otherwise, if it crashes, then it just will not be a happy camper. No one wants their work to crash when they forget to save. Yes, it's square on the model time. It's what I'm doing is this is called retopology. Basically, I am making all of the sculpture a lot simpler, and it makes it easier for a computer to be able to understand what's going on. And then what I'll also do is once we have this stuff done, I'll unwrap it, basically kind of like take it apart piece by piece. You can kind of see what the underlying mouse here. Actually, I'll show you this. Like, get rid of all of the clothing. You see just the mouse. But here's the mouse retopology. And this has been unwrapped. That's what all the green lines are. Into this. And this right here is what lets us texture and add all the textures on it. And so because of that, we have this over here. if we go over to the UVs, bring them up, like these are our finished UVs that we already have stuff for. And we go over to the paint layer. It looks weird because I've the sculpt on. This is actually our mouse already with the fur ready to go. It's already colored and textured and stuff like that. So we don't have to worry too much about that. And on a different model, actually have already put like the clothes on, so you can kind of see this is the it has all of the data of all the, it's all like the easy stuff. Gosh dang it. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat, I keep coughing. But like this little line right here, you don't see that in the UV. It's just a bunch of squares there. But because we saved the sculpture basically into those squares that I'm currently working on different clothing, this is what makes this final piece. And so that's what we're working on now, is getting this guy right here, getting this clothes into this, because this is the guy that we worked on 2 weeks ago. He is Captain Jeb, not Captain Cap'n, because he has a cap and likes to fish. I think that's what we decided as a community. Is that he's a fisherman whose boat capsized or something like that. So yes, so this is called the retopology. And for short, it's retopo. And then one of the things I'm planning on doing is at the end of the stream, doesn't matter if we actually get this texturing done or not, but that fur texture. Hello, Dana. One of the things I'm planning on doing is having you guys help me out with texturing the ready-made fur texture. Like, I have part of it done, but it's like it has no like details. Like, it doesn't have, of course. Sorry, just interrupt myself. But I'm planning on helping you guys take this. Actually, give me a second. Go back to this guy. I want to take this guy right here. Like, he's just kind of a plain brown mouse right now. So I kind of want to have you guys come up with ideas for how this can be more unique. Keep in mind that actually if we add on, so this is kind of like if this is going to be his clothing, you're only really going to see his head. But what we add onto this? Could we add freckles? Maybe a scar here or there that we could make this guy a little bit more unique, other than just being a brown mouse and having his clothing be awesome. And that's something I want you guys to think about while before we get to the very end of this, because I don't think we're going to get to a finished piece. Gosh, where am I? I don't know if we'll get this done within the hour that we have to work with, but I still want you guys to be able to help out with this. And I'm glad that my explanation worked. It can be confusing sometimes it's not. Ooh. Okay. Trying to figure out, okay, so I want this. I'm just kind of putting down the points that I'm going to work with for sure. And then I gotta go all the way around on this. And keep in mind that the parts, and actually the reason why this is purple is because it's not connected to anything. As soon as I make another square here, it becomes attached and makes it red. Okay, keep that in mind, Kat. Keep it in mind for the end of the stream, because I'm definitely going to be doing I'll be spending about 10-15 minutes on the fur. But thanks for mentioning it. So yeah, keep in mind that this right here is going to be simpler, but I'm actually already looking at it and realizing I kind of want to keep it easier for me to work with. That's not what I wanted to do. And that. Oops. I'm just kind of collapsing my things so that way it's a little bit simpler going over here. I'm going around because the vest doesn't need as many. But it might have been better off to keep it that way. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Now I can see already, like this right here. Connector there. Just add another one here. Hi, John. How's it going? I'm looking at how the clothing here is working, and I'm probably going to end up adding a secondary layer in here. I'm also going to be silly, I'm not really cheating. It just makes it a lot easier on me. Instead of trying to make this like nice secondary layer, I'm going to go like this, and then after building it out, I'm going to do that, and it already brings it in for me, so it matches a little bit better. This part here, you can see I'm probably going to have to be careful about. Might need to move this over a little bit so it doesn't get too lost. But you can see, like, I'm going to have to just be careful when it comes to I'm going to be careful because otherwise I don't want it when I save all the information to it, which is called baking, by the way. It will be a little bit easier. Also, I have to be careful, and also me realizing I shouldn't be following this line too carefully because this side doesn't match exactly. It's not, the shirt itself is not exactly symmetrical. Which is why I'm not touching it exactly there. It's actually going to get messy right here. Maybe not messy, it's just going to be hovering over spaces that I don't exactly want to hover over in the same way. When designing the clothes, we did look at like specific, I have some ideas, but we're aiming for anywhere between oh gosh, I'm not, there's my dates, like we didn't want to make them too complicated, but we also didn't want them to be 1100s peasant look. For mice that, because these mice specifically that we're working on don't live inside the abbey, which I'm assuming you know what these mice are being made for. But I think, if I remember correctly, we're looking at 1400s to 1700s. But we couldn't go with like a lot of high fashion, which is what you usually find when you're looking at research for this stuff, or like the fashion of the nobles. So we had to do a little bit like, what did maybe someone else do actually for this kind of time period for their like everyday people, and how to make them interesting, but not like someone who takes over. Okay, so I just added in a whole line and just completely changed how it looks, which is perfect. It's what I wanted it to do. Now, like it follows this line better. And then the other thing I'm going to do is combine that and that. Oops, one extra. And there, now the belt's also going to stand out a little bit. But I hope that answered your question, Dana. Or Dana. For now, I'm going to go ahead and move this down because I can't just get going on this. I'm going to be relatively loose, then go in late later to get the specifics down. And actually, something else I'm going to do is collapse that into that because we don't need that many right there. When it comes to arms and legs, it's always it becomes tougher. Torso is easy because it's just one single it's a single cylinder for the most part. But then when you add in limbs, it's like, how do I make this connect to the whole space? So you kind of saw me add in, like, there's this one spot where it's like realistically it would make sense for this. Like I ended up making a circle out of this to make this added in, but I'm trying not to have too many triangles, mostly when it comes to actually going out, making this move out. In part because, like you can see here, if I wanted to add another line and split up these squares right here, then I want to be able to do that right around here, and I want it to go all the way around, and I want to know exactly where it's going. I've accidentally made it so that way if I tried doing it like right here, if I had a whole bunch of ones going down there, just did this huge spiral down. It's like that was a bad design part of it was bad design for this process on my part that I learned a lot from. And I've learned how to do better. And we have to have it be a little bit more detailed here anyway, because then when it gets when we have the animation and these parts get stretched out, it becomes an easier. There is more for it. It's a little bit easier for. It doesn't like stretch it out too much, or in the same way, because it actually gives it more ways to bend, is what it actually does, because these squares are not, they're going to stay straight. They won't bend at all. It's actually at the points where there's lines that's where it bends. And now I'm going to be a little bit on the I'm doing this big broad stroke because this makes it a lot easier for me. Also makes it a little bit jumpy and slower. We're just going to do these big long cylinders, and then I'm going to split them up after I'm done with this. Makes it a lot faster. Or at least it's a lot faster to me. Oops, that did not get attached. Oh, now it's attached. And as you can see, it's getting lost in there, but when I add in when I split it up, it actually does a good job of making sure it's matching to the sculpture underneath. It's one of the reasons why I like this program. As you can see, because I'm working on a tighter ring, a smaller ring versus a larger ring, I have to be really careful of how I'm going to get all of this to squeeze in there. Okay. Now that I have that in, I'm going to show you what I meant before, and that I made it really generic, and this is why doing limbs can be so important in how you did them. You can see that this is a solid ring. That blue, wherever I want to add this ring, it is actually a solid ring. I can put one here. I can put one I'm going to be putting one at the elbow. I'll be putting 3 at the elbow. Putting another one up here. I actually want to go into this one right here. But if I go up to here, you see that this doesn't actually go into a solid ring. Instead, it goes into more of a arch because of how the squares are laid out. And instead, I would have to put one here and up here. So because I've already got this ring going right here, it makes it a lot easier, a lot better. Okay, so this elbow is about here. Then I want another here, and one right there. And as you can see, there's still some things that are bulging out, but they're not nearly as bad, except for these ones down here. They actually didn't work out the way I wanted them to. So I'm going to take a tool called the brush tool, where if I do smooth, it tends to be better. Maybe it's not working this time. I'm going to try something. That didn't work out. I'm going to have to probably actually go here, in here, and delete these. I'm probably going to have to redo these lines. Did I just? No, I did not. So I just deleted all the boxes that have a point that was being hidden underneath this, because they weren't doing what I wanted them to do. And I'm going to just rebuild them. I'm also realizing that this one's down below in a way that I don't want that either. Which means I'm probably going to redo this too. Like, there's just some of these that didn't quite work out in the way I was hoping it would. Which isn't too bad. Like, still got the majority of my base work, like, my foundational work done. Except for when it does things like that. I think part of it is I wasn't really accounting for how I made the sculpture underneath and how it bended. So I'm going to make sure that there's 3 spots here. To match up. Just to make this a little bit faster, go like this. Oops. Should be able to go like this. And there, that's a lot better than it was before. Instead of having a bunch, it's now like just a little bit smaller. And this is another spot right here that I'm going to probably need to fix up. But before I do that, I'm going to get rid of that right there, and then take, after it saves, I'm going to make this a cap right here, because then if I bring in the mouse, you can see the mouse doesn't exactly like meet up on those edges I created, or that work. It's kind of hard to make those match up exactly, but you can see where and so the cap just kind of goes in and makes it so that way that you don't have any like invisible like spots. Alright, now to get the pants in, and I think that's probably maybe the pants and the tail I probably have time for, and I don't think I'll have time to adjust this guy just yet, like let's get the belt fixed in, but I can still do this. If you guys have any other questions from me, always take them. Right now I'm adjusting this that way I can like, so I can come in like this side. I also should probably change my rotational point. We've already, I will not be adding any more accessories on this guy. We already have we have an earring, we have a belt, we have a hat. That's mostly done, accessories and adding of them usually is done during the sculpting stage, which we did last time. Instead, it's more about like, it's more about getting this part done, and then we're going to go over a little bit of the coloring stage with the fur itself. Like I could add like maybe a little bit of detail to like what's on the vest, maybe there's like an etching on there, but that I probably won't be able to get to that today because I need to have this part right here done before I can get to any texturing. And then this is the part right here where it's like, okay, I want to do the same thing as I did up here where I'm making the circles, but the legs are always interesting in trying to make the circles. So instead I'm going to go ahead and do this. Let's get started on this guy right here. I also make sure I get the tail sleeve in there too. This is a little bit messy back here, or my mind is messy. And I will make sure there's like kind of 2 rows going in here. I might have started this circle too early. Come on. There we go. Connect the back and the front. I'm going to change it to be like this because it's a little bit easier to see in here. Because legs, maybe not. Actually, the lines are getting in the way. want to. Why is that not grabbing? It's doing something weird right now, so I'm going to do. Why is it not doing that? I'm so confused. See why now. It's because somewhere in here there was an extra verse that didn't need to be in there. Hey, Nashog. Alright, cat. I hope you feel better. That's not what I want. There we go. I want it to be all connected like that. Don't know why that spot was giving me trouble. It just was. Okay, yeah, I started this spot up here a little too early. Like, and so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this right here. One of these. Yeah, I'm going to delete this one. And this one. Like, this area up here is just kind of messy. I don't really want it to be like this. But this area goes in here, so it's not quite where I want it to be either. Actually, I see what I need to do. This is just one big spot right there, so I'm going to go ahead and add in some stuff here. There we go. That will make me a happier camper. And Jed. How are you guys, how are you doing, Ash? That's always good. Alright, I'm gonna try and get this part right here a little bit happier. I'd say happy, kind of like little happy trees and stuff like that. Kind of as if I'm Bob Ross, because I'm working on a little happy mouse. I'm gonna get this ring of right here kind of cleaned up. On the same thing. So like now, if I go like this, it's all on one ring. Just like that. That's what I wanted. Alright, that makes this a lot easier moving forward. And I'm going to ignore the tail for now. I don't think I'm going to get to that part with you guys. I didn't do here what I did with the arm because there's so much of a curve here. There's so much more curved. Okay, Nashog. It's okay. We have about 20 more minutes before the stream ends. I'm just finishing up this leg, and then we're going to move on. I want to kind of skip a little bit of a step, but move on to the texture, in which I want you to think about what you might want to have the fur texture to be looking like. Right now it's just a basic brown with some pinks, a pink in the ears and on the hand. We could do something, I believe someone said add a white, that they wanted to see him have a white spot. That's a definite possibility. Oh, I need to add another spot down here. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna want to bring this lower. I like that. Gonna get rid of the feet so I can see through it. There we go. I'm going to add another ring right there. And then I'm going to cap it, kind of like how I did on the arms. There we go. And now if we look at this with the mouse mesh, you can see that where the red will kind of disappear. Yeah, texturing. And yes, we are based outside of Portland. We're not based inside Portland though. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one as it is. I'll work on that some more at the end. And we will see. And you guys can kind of see. I'm going to get rid of this mouse sculpt. There it is. And as. And then have to show this guy right here. And then go to the paint. This is what we got so far. You can see I'm showing you what the clothing looks like. This is what is ready to go into a game without any of the animations. But this could go into Unity and be placed there. And anything that's like this right here cannot. At least not yet. That's why I'm doing all those red squares. And so, with this guy in mind, I believe we saw we had someone say earlier. I think it was Nashog, right? Nash, I think, said that oh no, it was Kat, and Kat had to leave. But Kat said that maybe a patch of fur that's white or black near the eye, and that would be something to add in on Jed. Which means I need to go over here. You can see my layers all down here. I have some other mice already also done, so you guys can kind of see a little sneak peek. I added in as a play test, a little basic test. Actually, I'm going to show you this with the clothes on. I looked up what it might look like, what Brian Jackson mustache looks like, or his goatee, and this is the best I could apply it to the face. It was like, oh, I don't think this works in the same way. But I am, because I couldn't quite make that work, it's supposed to be a goatee. Okay, so community details. I don't want this to be symmetrical, I'm assuming. Maybe for fur, maybe a white chin and neck could be interesting. Going for realism or looks, or having more individual marks. Well, the realism or individual marks is up to you. I ended up giving one of our characters who has actually a darker brown fur than this, I gave her some blonde freckles. And that's not usually realistic. So if you're having a light brown patch, that fades into dark brown from the tips to the ears. So you want lighter brown, so I'll keep maybe this brown right here. And then I'm going to bring up the color, maybe like that. Actually, in this case, I do want to have it be symmetrical. Bring the opacity down so I can have a smooth transition. Oh, also need to make sure it's not going to be shiny. Oh, it changed on me. I think that's what you meant. As a light brown patch that fades into the darker brown around the tips of the ears. And maybe in the chest area. So we're going to go with this. Maybe I'll make it a little more of a yellow. It's not really as much of a yellow, it's more like just a peach. And actually I'm going to take off the symmetry for here. Bring down this opacity still more. Have it come over to the left a little bit. I'm kind of making this up as we go. Giving him a blonde chin, I think is what someone said. Or like a whitish chin. I'm gonna have this go a little bit into the arms. Oh no, this is still Jed. This is the same guy as from 2 weeks ago that I was sculpting. We were just doing just the fur underneath. It's like if we want to, we could actually, give me a second. We can do this while having the clothing on so you guys can see exactly how it will look with him. Which actually this is probably a good idea. Now you can see that yes, that this spot right here is showing, but not that any of the hip part would. And you can also get an idea that even if we put anything on the arms, it's going to be covered by his sleeves. But I kind of like how we have some stuff here, although I do want to use this more yellowy color instead of what we had before, which is more peachy. Which is actually fun. I've done this like tip thing before, or this tip, the colored tips, and made it instead like dark. Let me see if I have them here. I think it's on. Do I have anything on coil? I do have stuff on coil, so let's get rid of this. And this is one of the colors for coil. And you can see that he has some dark tipped ears instead. I just already have some other colors done, just not the outfits for these characters done. And so then this here, the jib. What do you mean by darker skin? Oh, you're talking about the pink? I've been using the pink for all of them just because it makes it a little bit simpler. I know that there is some variety, but we could give him a darker nose if we want. And part of it is because the pink is actually on a layer that is overlaying all of the pieces. Give me a second. Freeze transparent pixels. This is going to make everything go a little crazy. Except for the pink spots. Let's see what this looks like. Giving him a dark nose. That's a shiny dark nose. Oh, and something happened to the shirt to make it all black. Probably because it's trying to save while it's processing. There we go. Well, it's more of a brown nose than a black nose, but it does make a difference. I'm going to keep that nose in here just in case we want to use it. Or I want to use it for other characters. I'm going to bring down the shininess a little bit. There's not quite as shiny. It's still shiny, but not quite as shiny. Alright. So someone say something. Oh, make the brown fur darker. We could make the brown fur darker. I kind of, it's actually already at a fairly dark brown. Like we could go even darker than this, but you see, this is the point where we're coming from. It's already like if here's the whole box, that little square there is where that color is from. We could go darker than this. Go here. But we also have, I'm also thinking about some of the other mice, and we already have some darker mice than this one. I started off with a brown because I kind of had an idea that he might look brown, and that could be cool. Okay. Dana said, I almost feel that a little bit of lighter color at the base of the nose between the eyes might add some nice contrast and depth to the face. That's a good point. So let's take this color from down here. Why is it? Oh, for some reason it started pulling it in there. I don't know why, but my colors are being weird. Guess I just have to hand pick this rather than picking one of the ones we already have. Between the eyes. If you're actually talking about, like, one of the things I actually did in this is I've already added some details in between for the eyes to, it's like a very subtle change, but you can kind of see that I've already added in some details. Like, this is the actual true base color without anything on it, and I already added in some stuff to help provide some contrast to make it feel a little bit more structured. I'm not quite sure where I would add the lighter color. I'm talking about the base of the nose. I wonder if you meant like base of the nose between the eyes. Like, do you mean like right here? Second, actually. Well, okay, so this lighting isn't like the most dynamic lighting. And then the other thing is that we're because of the process we're doing with this, I'm not I don't like draw in for it just needs to be flat. It actually should be flat colors. But in this mode you can kind of see like you have to remember that this isn't supposed to be a painting where I'm bringing in all the depth. But like I do agree that this does look a little bit flat, but the muzzle isn't actually that long of a muzzle. And we're also going to be having some fur added to this at a later stage. Like, I can't add fur to this in this program, so I can't show you what it actually looks like. So, but I think I understand what you're talking about. When it comes to, this is more about just adding the straight colors themselves, just like where we want fur texture. But actually, no, I have an idea. And I need to make sure that symmetry's on. That might help. What you're saying. Like I'm kind of giving him like a little stripe at the top. But I don't know if I like that better. I mean, it's cool, kind of. I'm kind of actually thinking with horses how they have sometimes a stripe going down their noses, down the muzzle. But in this case, I'm not worrying about, because it's not a hand painted. Like it is technically like in a way hand painted, but the goal isn't to paint in all the shadows. All the shadow work that you actually see here is because there is a built-in lighting. Like these are highlights just because of there's lighting within the program. And so, which is easier. It makes it so I don't have to worry about building in all this stuff. It's like if you look over here, I have built in a little bit this UV map over on the right side. You can see I add a little bit of detail just to highlight, oh, too close. Just to highlight this ridging here. And then a little bit right there. But that's just, it's a subtle thing. It's not supposed to be my primary job as a texturing artist right now. When it comes to other props and other projects, it may be the case. It depends on the workflow and the end product. Yeah, I think that's what we have time for, guys. We got pretty far, like farther than I was expecting in terms of this retopo, and getting close, fairly close. I'll only have like a little bit extra left to work on that, and then for this texturing here, I really enjoyed the additional comments you guys had there. I hope you guys all have a great day. It's been fun having you. Thanks for coming. And next week, I believe that, I don't know which game we're playing, but we'll be playing a game as a company. You guys can watch us make fools of ourselves as we do silly things. Have fun.